Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the third and final day of the Canvas networking lunch here at the All Annual Conference. We're great pleasure to join you again, and just for those that haven't joined the previous 2 days, do some introductions before we get into kind of the meat and potatoes of the conversation today. So my name is Sam Wilson. I'm the Senior Executive for Further Education in the UKI. So looking after colleges and vocational training academies and institutions of all stripes and supporting their needs with EdTech. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Ghislaine for an introduction to themselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Ghislain. I'm the Regional Director covering the French territory, but as well Italian and Eastern Europe. I'm here with my colleagues Sam and also Alex to answer any question that you have, and happy to have you here.
Yeah, likewise. Very excited to be here again today. My name is Alex Westerhoff. I'm the Regional Director for the Benelux. Same role as Sam and Ghislain. Sam?
Thanks both. So over the past couple of days, we've had a bit of a running theme throughout our networking session. So on day one, we asked participants to share some of their challenges that they've faced over the past 18 months as they've kind of seen the pivot into a more kind of technologically centered online delivery model. In day two, we asked you to share some of your successes, some of the things that really worked, some of the things that kind of really was successful at your institution in supporting faculty and supporting the students that we are there to support. And then today, what we would like to discuss with you and like to get your thoughts on and some of your feelings is what things, what items, what artifacts, what kind of policies and mindsets will you be keeping that you've learned over the past 18 months as we go into a potentially new normal. So to access the mural board that we've got up here, you can navigate over to the Discord server in the Canvas LMS channel. There should be a link for you to access it in there, and it would be really good to get some of your thoughts and feelings around things that you think your institution or even you as an individual will be kind of keeping in your workflow going forward, based on what we've learned in the changes in both education and technology and some of the kind of interesting times that we've been through going forward. Just to kick things off, I'll share one of the thoughts and things that I've heard from institutions I've been speaking to is definitely having a more formalized policy around the use of education technology and having that policy visible to all of the key stakeholders across an institution. And when I say stakeholders, I don't just mean senior leaders, I mean academics, learning technologists, and the all-important students as well. Just by way of orientation, as you start to think about some of the things that you're going to share with us today, if you want to add something to this mural board, just hit a little right click, and then you can go add sticky note, and then you should be able to type away and start to share some of those things. You can see we've got different categories, things that the institution might be kind of retaining, things that the teaching staff might be keeping in their arsenal, and some of the kind of things that students might want to keep in place over the things we've seen over the past 18 months. Ghislaine, based off the institutions that you speak to in your kind of region, what are some of the things that academics, senior leaders, faculty members are saying they're going to keep in place in the new normal?
Sure. Thanks, Sam. What I would say that come across my conversation will be rather that having a tool is more like a mindset. The openness of those institutions to change has been sometimes urged by the situation with the COVID-19, with the pandemic. And therefore, all these institutions will quickly realize sometimes that they didn't have the right capabilities in place. So the new normal will never go back to the normal or the pandemic. So what I would say that has been consistently addressed or shared during my conversations will be the mindset to drive the change, to really put the student or the learner in the center of the strategy. And like you said, to involve all the stakeholders, in the institutions to all go in the same direction. So therefore, they will be able to keep improving, keep innovating, and have the best tool in place to reach their institutional goals.
Perfect, thanks, Dylan. And that's definitely kind of echoed in the institutions that I work with, having kind of that open and transparent dialogue with people right across the institution to kind of pull together and pull in the same direction going forward. Thank you for sharing that. I've seen some things starting to appear over on the Mural board. One of the things I've seen there is quizzing tools, the kind of use of quizzing engines, quizzing tools, quizzing apps within your kind of course delivery and course design. They're definitely a great way of doing kind of multiple things, whether it's kind of quick knowledge checks to gauge the competency and understanding and kind of levels of interaction from your students, or something a little bit more higher stakes, like to aggregate certain scores that are needed to be evaluated against a particular outcome or success criteria. So yeah, using these kind of digital formatted quizzing tools, I definitely going to see those appear a lot more in more online programs. Just going to zoom in a little bit here. Again, we've seen a keeper is more ed tech and staff course designers. So doubling down on the kind of investment that institutions are making and kind of ever kind of growing their online presence and their online educational access and content. That's a great one. Let's see what else we've got here. Learning new tricks in the mindset column. So just being open to that kind of learning moment, whether it's a new piece of technology, a new methodology, a new way of designing a course or a curriculum, both in the kind of physical space and that bricks and mortar space, but more importantly, how you kind of use those new mindsets and new tricks in the kind of online space. So I think that's great. That's another really good one. Some more people typing. Alex, what are some of the big noises you're hearing from the institutions that you've spoken to about kind of methodological changes or things that they're going to keep in place that have come out of the past 18 months?
The one that absolutely comes top of mind for me, Sam, is the Benelux, the institution that I've been speaking with. There's a bigger emphasis, it seems, on culture around end-to-end decision making and making sure that the learnings from the past 18 months, where there was an absolute need to make faster and also better decisions, really became something that came front stage and center. So when you talk about stakeholder alignment, also something that Ghislain just alluded to, yeah, it really comes top of mind, because you can make a decision as an institution whereby you say, okay, now we have a situation and we need to look on how to, bring our students online on the fly. What does our current our current software stack looks like? But you can make decisions, but if you're not continuously about what is driving those decisions in terms of the data that's driving those decisions, in terms of the information and knowledge shared across the different stakeholders within the institutions, you can still end up making certain decisions, but they can also put an institution in a difficult spot, so to speak. So that's something that really is top of mind. When I think back about the conversations I had on this topic.
Perfect, thank you. I think that's really important. It's when we see all the kind of the anecdotal improvements and the kind of the culture improvements, and then having the long-term strategy informed by both the anecdotal experiences, but the data coming out of the online tools that we're using to form a kind of a wide-based policy going forward. I think that seems, really important. I'm going to turn back over to the mural now, and I've seen there's a few more comments. One that really kind of resonated, and I think this reaches even further than potentially education, but it's definitely prevalent within the sector, and that's the kind of the ability to work from different places or learn from different places, and how online delivery through virtual learning environments, learning management systems, quizzing tools, and recorded lectures allow faculty to build work in different locations, and students to consume their educational content in different locations. And whether that's because they've got things going on in their life where they need to just take themselves out of that conventional classroom for a day or so and still be able to learn from a different environment, whether it's getting more learning done on the bus in or the bus home from their institution. I think, yeah, having this ability to work and learn more flexibly in different locations, I think we're going to definitely see become apparent across many industries, as well as education. So thank you for sharing that one. I've got one that's popping up in the recording in the keepers column under teachers, and it's recording. And I can assume that that's about recording your classes, recording your seminars or your lectures, and then having them presented online. By way of kind of a little personal anecdote, outside of my work with Instructure, I am a part-time mature student, so I'm also doing an educational program, and definitely having access to full class content almost on the go, on demand, in that format has only helped the way that I personally engage with my studies. So I definitely we're going to see more kind of use of recorded technologies and then kind of archiving that material. So thank you for sharing that. Is there any comments coming through on the Discord board or the Discord server? Ghislaine, have you seen anything coming up?
Not so far, but I really invite anyone to make any contribution. Any question that will be posted on Discord will be automatically answered by Sam.
Perfect. Thank you ever so much. There's one here that seems interesting. So on the kind of institutional mindset level, there's a comment on values. I would love for the person that typed that to maybe elaborate a little bit more in the Discord server. I think it'd be great to hear kind of a bit more about your perspective there. That would be excellent. So if you want to navigate over to Discord and drop some more information in there, that would be great. We've got one under the student mindset piece here, and it's a more organized mindset. And I'll have to deduce a little bit what this element's getting at, and please elaborate in Discord as well. But I can gather that might mean that students now have an approach to kind of check certain platforms, understand what's kind of incumbent upon them, and follow their kind of digital trajectory through on their virtual learning environment or their learning management system, and know when they need to engage, when they need to submit, what quizzes to take at what point, when to jump on a kind of an online call if we see this kind of becoming ever more present. So yeah, kind of having that kind of more organized approach to how you consume your qualification or your educational program or the types of education package that you're working towards. So that's great. There's one up here that I've just seen, discussing with students during online classes, so more engagement. So the engagement piece is super important, and you can kind of chop up and dice the engagement piece of many different ways. So I'm going to ask Ghislaine, has student engagement, been an important factor for the institutions that you've been working with? Have you seen kind of engagement high on their agenda?
Clearly engagement, especially with the new methodology when we're moving from face-to-face teaching to distance or hybrid learning. Basically, the engagement have been the centerpiece of the strategy that all the institutions that I've been talking to recently in France and the other territories, that been shared with me. Is really one concern is really move from passive observation to an active discussion or proactivity from the learner side with the institutions. So clearly, this is one of the key takeaways that have been resonated and that will go forward in the previous couple of months and years, I believe, in the industry.
Perfect. Definitely. I think just giving that kind of open two-way street of communication from teaching staff to student back to teaching staff, I just think allows everyone to feel a little bit more kind of engaged in connected. Love it. Yeah, connected. And I think there's a subset conversation to be had there, is how that you can create a digital environment for students to feel engaged and connected with fellow students. So things like collaborative projects. Is there ways of harnessing technology going forward, like what we've done or seen over the past 18 months, where we can create collaborative exercises for students in the online environment? And that's something that I'm hearing from the colleges I have the pleasure in conversing with, is that let's give students more opportunities to work with their fellow students, both in person when situations will allow, but also replicate that in-person collaboration and engagement in the online environment. So I think that that's something that I think we will see here to stay. One thing that I've also heard a lot of institutions talk about is it's on the kind of tools section, is making sure that the edtech applications that they use come with a kind of a good kind of defined change management or kind of policy-driven methodology. So letting everyone at the institution know what this particular piece of technology is for, what you can do in it, the things that you won't be doing in it, and having those clear demarcation lines to kind of prevent any kind of confusion. I can only assume that as everyone kind of clambered to go to a wholly online model, as schools, colleges, and universities started to shut, there was that kind of anxiety around, am I submitting my assignment in the right place? Am I jumping into the right web conferencing tool for this session? Am I interacting with this tool correctly? And I think I've seen a lot of institutions kind of really put that kind of clear demarcation line of what tool is used for what. This is your virtual learning environment. This is your email account. This is your student information system, etc. And kind of really setting the expectations of what kind of interactions you'll have with each of those technologies to just kind of promote a more successful adoption of those technologies. Have we got anyone? Is there any comments that I need to address? Because then any questions that have come up, or should we go back to the Mural board?
So far, no question, but yeah.
Perfect. Let me just zoom in
Sure.
and see some of the other things. So we've had some kind of other tools suggested, things like Padlet and Mural, like we're using here, are going to be successful, maybe keeping in the educational setting, definitely. I know that kind of video tools, video-based tools, like we've got our own version of this, Canvas Studio, but video tools that take video from a kind of more passive way of consuming educational content and turn it into a more active way of kind of having people participate with the video. So whether that's kind of questions that overlay over that video, creating discussions from that video, and again, promoting engagement and collaboration set amongst a video within their kind of learning product. So that's definitely kind of an increase of video learning I've heard about over the past 18 months. Is there any best practices that you're hearing from Alex that you think teaching staff, based on your conversations, are going to start institutionalize? Any particular best practices that you think teachers will start to incorporate in their workflows?
There's not one that springs to mind particularly, but something that ties in with that question, Sam, is that I'm hearing more and more people talk about student empowerment next to student engagement. What will it mean for our institution and for our teachers, for example, if we empower students more, and what is actually needed in order to make that happen? So I know of one large institution in the Netherlands that is actually working in Canvas, whereby the students actually take on the role of a teacher, and they empower these students to organize their learnings themselves, where the teacher takes more of an enablement and supportive role altogether. And I think it's a really interesting question then to ask, okay, what does it actually mean in terms of giving that empowerment to students? How will it help to increase student satisfaction, for example, adoption, for those students altogether?
Perfect. I think that's really important. Flipping the paradigm and giving other people opportunities to like kind of take on different roles. And that brings us to the end of our session. Thank you ever so much, everyone that's tuned in. We hope to engage with you on Discord and have a great rest of the conference. Thank you to all, and thank you to everyone.